Alrighty, been a while since I've done an update, so I'd catch you up. I was hoping I'd have the frame back from powder coating to be a little bit more interesting of an update, but there's some good stuff here. The engine looks like an engine again. I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. The badges, these were vapor blasted, and so I'm going to repaint them. I'm just going to paint the whole thing, and then I'm going to use, I actually tested this piece, this part right here, on my Scotch-Brite wheel, and it actually looks pretty nice, I think. It's kind of a nice, almost polished, but not quite finish. I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm just going to paint the whole thing with a nice satin or whatever color as I can get closest to the original color, and then just buff off the letters and numbers there. And I think it'll look pretty nice. I'm reading that 3M weather strip adhesive works really well for gluing that back on, so I'll probably use that. The engine went together really nice. Everything fit well. The jugs, everything. I measured everything that I could, and everything seemed to work really well. The heads are all assembled. You can't see in there, see the valves, but the only thing that wasn't quite, let's see if I can get this off one-handed. Yeah. The only thing that wasn't quite, didn't quite go together well perfectly was the front cover here. I gotta do some clearancing because of this aftermarket alternator. This is a custom jobby from Euromotor Electrics. It's a lithium high output alternator and regulator rectifier. Replaces the old diode board, which would normally sit up here. So it just modernizes everything and makes a lot lower maintenance, simpler. I guess that's debatable, but it's tough to argue with this setup here. You know, I can run a lithium battery if I want. I have all kinds of power to run an electric jacket, and heated grips and phone charger and all that jazz. So I figured, well, I'm in here, just do it once. But the cover had a little interference issue here with this bolt right there, so I'm gonna have to just slightly touch that with a grinder, bring that down, and maybe even just bring that out a little bit because it just barely rubs. And then this part where you can see black, I had to grind that down. I put more black on it to test it so it clears, but that was rubbing on I think this bolt here. There. So this thing is quite a bit bigger than the original, but it'll fit just fine. The old hardware, all this stuff, this old nasty hardware I'm going to replace with some new stainless stuff. That's going to be a full day project, actually, is measuring all the hardware I need and ordering some stainless hex head stuff. The rear hub here is ready for reassembly. This is the original drive dog, and while it was not in really bad shape, it actually probably had I don't know, 80-90% left on those splines. It was really okay, but I'm replacing the original final drive with this one I got off eBay, which is the correct gear ratio for the R75, which I think will actually be an improvement from the little bit that I rode it. It had a earlier model R60, I believe. That's it right over there, which is a lower ratio, which has higher RPMs as you're going down the road, which, especially with a 1000cc kit, I don't think will really be necessary. It'll cruise a little nicer with the original ratios. They made a bunch of ratios for these things, but I spent some time with the parts washer and wire brush getting that clean. It's not quite there yet, it's close, and it's going to have all new stainless plugs and stuff on there, so it'll look nice. But in any case, the splines here, they're really good. They're probably 85%, maybe 90% on on the final drive that I'm using. The one that came off the bike is completely clapped. They are right down. I mean, you could use it, but not quite to a point, but they're very close to being totally worn out. So I figured instead of putting a drive dog that was used to running against something that was totally worn out, just replace it while I'm in here and put a new one on. So it'll be a brand new drive dog matched up to an almost new final drive. So this should last probably forever. And this was all riveted on the original drive dog here. That should be the other side here underneath, but the rivets I had to drill out and knock them out with a hammer. They're pressed in. And I've got some aviation fasteners called high locks, which are kind of a self-setting rivet. It's a bolt basically that you put a nut on and you tighten the nut until it breaks off at the correct torque. So that'll be like new, and then once that's in, I can build the rear wheel up, new spokes going down to the new rear wheel. And then the last thing I just finished is rebuilding the drive shaft here. This was a fun little project. The U-joint is really hard to get, and so the only quality one that I could trust came from Germany, so that took a few weeks to get here. But it's here, and I had to do a little arithmetic to figure out how to put it in, because you need to put the U-joint in with about 5/1000ths. You can't just put the cups in, squeeze them together tight, and press them in. And they have to be retained. So the original ones were staked in. I don't have a tool to do that the correct way. So I pressed them in to the bottom dimension and then added 5/1000ths. So they have about 5/1000ths clearance. And then I actually found these washers. They were the first ones I pulled out of the parts, out of the bolt drawer. There, I can look at that as my best weld, so you can stare at that one. Added for the thickness of the washers, which turned out to be almost flush, would you believe? So I put 3 tack welds on each washer, and then 1 tack weld on the cup of the U-joint so that it would retain it, because I noticed the new U-joint cups didn't have quite as much press fit. Some of them were pretty loose. So I just added a tack on the cups carefully and squirted it with some water really quick to cool it off, and it feels absolutely like brand new, no notchiness anymore. This will last probably as long as I have the bike. Nice. So I'm very, very happy with that. That was a very fiddly job. And then just a matter of putting the cush drive unit back together, and then it can go back into the swing arm once that finally comes back from powder coating. So once I get the frame back, things will start to go back together nicely. It'll be very quick to see some progress, and motivation will happen once it's sitting on the wheels and the engine is sitting in it, and I can start bolting parts on it. It starts to get really exciting. So that's it. That's it for this update. Hopefully next time you'll see it back from powder coating, and maybe even an engine sitting in it. All right, that's all for now.